Good evening, students. I welcome you all to the lecture of Advanced 3G and 4G Mobile Wireless Communication. As we have already taken up two lectures on ultra wideband system, where we have discussed the model for communication in case of ultra wideband, its features, its pros, its cons. Just to remind that ultra wideband has the ability to share spectrum, it has a large channel capacity, it works in FCC mask, and the shape is a Gaussian pulse that we use in ultra wideband system. Now, when we talk about ultra wideband modulation system, it is also called as impulse radio modulation. As we have already discussed in earlier lectures, that we doesn't require any sort of carrier in case of ultra wideband system. Therefore, it is also called as baseband modulation technique. So we can use various techniques in case of ultra wideband modulation system. One of the technique is pulse amplitude modulation. As we know that in case of a pulse amplitude modulation, the amplitude is vary in according to the nature of bit. That is, for a bit 0 we have a different amplitude, and for a bit 1 we have a different amplitude. So it can be seen from this equation, that is STRT is equal to TK WTRT, where WTR is a ultra wideband pulse of a Gaussian shape. Now the value of dk can be +1 or -1. For a -1, that is for k is equal to 0, and +1 for k is equal to 1, while WTR is the equation for a Gaussian pulse. It will depend upon the sigma, which is pulse width, and it is linked to pulse width. The second technique that can be used is on-off keying. In case of a on-off keying, it is like a switch. That is, for a impulse 0, for a impulse 0 we can have 0 value, for 1 we can have 1 value. Therefore, we will have a specific shape for bit 1, and we will have a 0 value for bit 0. This is also called as on-off keying method. As it can be seen from this graph, which is in between time and amplitude. Here the value of amplitude is very less, that is of the order of 10 to the power -3. The time is in nanoseconds. So another very important technique is pulse position modulation. Here in this case, the information of the database to be encoded is changed by position. That is, bit 0, say bit 0 will have a pulse originally at a time instant 0, while bit 1 will be shifted by an interval, that is delta. Same it can be seen in this figure. So when we take this equation into account, we can simply see that dk and del will decide the shift of time. That is, del, if the value of dk is equal to 1 for impulse 1, there will be a shift. Therefore, we can easily see that there is shift of time interval in case for bit impulse 1 in comparison to 0. So this is pulse position modulation. Now we have discussed these techniques. These techniques are basically for a single band ultra wideband modulation. Now if we want to have multiple SS, if we assume, in case of a single band transmission, we assume that each signal is transmitted by a single pulse. The continuous pulse transmission lead to strong lines in the spectrum, which can lead to interference. So in order to have minimum interference and multi-SS, and in order to improve the multi-SS capability, we can just use two important randomizing techniques, that is time hopping and direct sequence, which you have already learned in your mobile and wireless communication subject. But you can incorporate this time hopping and direct sequence here in order to have multiple SS ultra wideband modulation scheme. I hope you have liked this lecture, and I hope you will see this lecture and work at your own end. I thank you all for listening. Thank you very much.